That? Ooh, I must have this track on repeat. Repeat. Oh, you hear that? You hear that? Oh, let's break it down. Oh, let's break it down. Oh, let's break it. Break it. Break it down. Let's drop the beat. Beat. Let's get you healed up. Alright, in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. F it up. Oh, I'm in the groove. Back in the mix. Check yourself. Oh, feel that healing beat. All right, heal up. Heal up. Heal up. Healing boost. Oh, I like the sound of that. Ooh, I must have this track on repeat. Repeat. Oh, you hear that? You hear that? Oh, let's break it down. Oh, let's break it down. Oh, let's break it. Break it. Break it down. Let's drop the beat. Beat. Let's get you healed up. Let's get you healed up. Healed up. Yeah. Healed up. Yeah, let's move it, people. Yeah, let's move it, people. Yeah, let's pick it up. Lucio coming at you. Coming at you. Yeah, time to heal up. Oh, turn it up. Turn it up. Turn it up. Turn it up in my headphones. My headphones. Turn it up in my headphones. Audio medic. Audio medic. Audio medic. Move to the beat. Boost. Boost. Oh, this is my jam. Time to accelerate. Alright, in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. F it up. Oh, I'm in the groove.
right, we are live, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages. Welcome to another episode of Off the Wall. Now sponsored by CGL Console Gaming League, also sponsored by SoulSickClothing.com. Check it out. Use coupon code Dazzle167 at checkout for 15% off. And with all of that said, we have a very special guest today. I like to call him Basic. I know a lot of people do, but to be honest, right? Let's be real. It's technically Baysk, right?
It's correct, yes. But I mean, I prefer pronounced basic, so I'm okay that works getting around, you know.
Right. So I like it because I remember the first time I saw your name, I was like I just assumed it was Basic. I was like, oh, Basic, that's cool. He just spelled it differently. But then the when I actually like read I was like, oh, that's not Basic, because I thought I just saw the S and the Y. Like
hmm
just like that, and I that's what I thought. But then I was like, oh, it's Baysk. But you never corrected me, and you never corrected anyone else. So I was just like, all right.
yeah, I really don't worry about it. And actually, half the time my name gets misspelled anyway. They put the S before the Y. I don't know why I don't just switch to that because it is cleaner. It is just better. So you never know. I might.
Well, okay. So before we go on to all the other questions that we have, let's talk about your name, because Baysk is sort of like a weird name to me. What does it
Mhm.
mean? What's behind the name?
There's really not that much behind it. I've always been a fan of the Queen names, just kind of like the short word, short phrase, close names or whatever. No offense to the Dazzle 167, I love that as well.
Right.
But yeah, I didn't want any numbers. I didn't want any of that. So I was just like looking through adjectives or whatever. I saw the word basic. I was like, that's pretty cool. I put in BASIC just to see. Obviously, that's already taken. And so I just started messing around with the spelling of it. I came around with this, and kind of the rest is history. That's pretty much it. Not much of
Nice.
a significance to it, you know.
Well, that's cool. That's cool. Well, listen. Let's talk about way back. Let's go all the way back to like the beginning. Of your gaming origin story. So let's talk about like what were some of the first games you started playing, and what platform was it?
Yeah, so the first games that I remember playing at all is on a Nintendo DS. Again, I'm only 16, so I don't go all the way back to like the N64, all that kind of stuff. But or the NES, all that stuff. But yeah, the Nintendo DS, and I played Mario Kart for probably a year. That might have been the only thing I played, Mario Kart on the DS. Started like speed running
Jumped
that.
straight into
Yeah,
competitive.
when I was like 6 or 7, I was trying to compete with high times in Mario Kart.
Nice.
A couple years after that, I got into Halo and stuff like that, playing Forge and Firefight with my friends. I think it was Halo Reach. Then got into
Nice.
MW2 and stuff. And then I started picking up Call of Duty. I started loving Call of Duty. That's when I started enjoying playing it competitively and playing video games, really trying hard and stuff like that. I think it's BO2 League play. That's when it really took off for me. But then Overwatch came out, and I was looking for a new game. Call of Duty was getting old; it was getting repetitive. So I picked up Overwatch, and I really haven't stopped playing it aside from a couple breaks to play some other games. But yeah,
And Overwatch was the type of game that you just picked up because you just saw like the promotion or something, or was it something else that led you on to play it?
the thing was, I loved Call of Duty, and I was also starting to see if I wanted to start playing MOBAs. I was like, I mean, I like MOBAs, but I don't like that you don't have to aim or anything like that. And then I saw
Mm,
Overwatch, and it's almost a blend of the two in a sense.
got
Obviously, it's
it.
not full MOBA, but I was like, this is kind of the perfect game for me to start grinding, and so I
Right.
jumped on it.
No, that's really cool, and that kind of goes to show like the what people, the mentality people have behind it, because like I know people who were strictly MOBA who they were like, well, I got, I this game looks cool, but I kind of have to learn how to aim or something, right? And then the other people who are the other way, that they're just FPS, and they're
hmm
like, that's all they do. So yeah, I totally get it. I think that's awesome that there's like a different, uh different versions of what people got into. What was the first hero that you started with? I mean, because I've always known you as a Lucio main, a fellow Lucio main. So was Lucio your first character, or who did you pick first?
Technically, Lucio's my first real character, but in the first 2 weeks when I started playing Overwatch, it was like the week of release. I didn't get it the day of, but like 3 days after, I one tricked Bastion for a solid 2 weeks. Not gonna lie.
Ah,
Yeah,
nice.
because my Call of Duty, I'd never even went into turret form, but that's when nobody knew the game, so it was just fun
Right.
walking around like that. But I was playing with a lot of my real life friends, and all of them were attracted to DPS. A couple of them played tanks, but nobody really wanted to play healer. And so I jumped on Lucio kind of as soon as I could because I love mobility. I love moving fast. I enjoyed playing Black Ops 3 and sliding around and stuff. I was like, Lucio might be fun to do. And so I just started playing him. I continued to have fun with him.
Nice, nice. So, okay, so let me ask you this specifically about Lucio. Then, what was it about his play style that allowed you to stay as Lucio? Because you mentioned how like nobody really wanted to go healer, and you were like, all right, well, let me go healer. What was it about his kit that really resonated with you?
If you want the honest answer, you can make a lot of mistakes as Lucio without it getting noticed.
Yeah,
As the fastest support in the game, aside
yeah.
from some cute mercy tricks, you can kind of be everywhere at once. And I loved bouncing around, just running around, doing crazy stuff. Nobody could understand what I'm doing. I didn't understand what I was doing, and I just had fun. I enjoyed that more than more stationary healers like Zen or I guess Mercy technically. So I just like the mobility of his kit.
Right, and back in the day, I think that there was always this sort of stigma, like okay, so Mercy nowadays has the stigma where it's like, like all you do is press RT, like uh, back in the day, for me at least, I always saw people complain about Lucio mains. They were like, "Listen, if you can't heal with any healer, pick Lucio because all you have to do is exist." Right? That was his aura was so big back in the day where
Mhm.
you could be in a corner just like peeking every now and then and shooting, and then just heal everybody. So yeah, there was a level of of play that you could get away with without having to have a lot of skill with it, right?
For sure, for sure.
For
Yeah.
you personally, when was it that it clicked for you how to play the character well? Like, because I think that there was a lot of Lucio mains who, once they learned certain things, they were like, "Oh, that's it. That's my play style. I found how to do this." What was it for you?
Watching DSP Stanky's Vindication video, actually King of Swing before that was the big
King
thing.
of
I was
Swing was
like,
good, yeah.
yeah, you can actually do damage as this hero. You can kill stuff. You don't just have to like sit back and be a heal bot and such. And so I started playing like that, modifying my playstyle. That was when it first clicked. But then the big thing that clicked, and I'm kind of embarrassed to say this, it's when I got my Xbox Elite controller and I was able to just bounce around while aiming and such, and probably climbed almost 1,000 SR between the season that I didn't have it to the season I did have it.
Right, right. Well, no, that's awesome. Let's go back to that a little later, but let's talk a little bit about your casting because that's one of the things that I think I met you before you started casting or as you were starting to cast. What made you want to get into casting? Because I think that's one of those things where you either like to do it or you know how to do it. Did you have experience before casting for CGL or was it something for you that like just came naturally?
Yeah, so kind of like the caster origin story. I before I was in the CGL, I was in XOL for a while. I don't know if you've heard of it. It's more of a smaller league, good
Mm-hmm.
community, but they didn't have any casters whatsoever, and they wanted to start streaming their games. I didn't know if I'd like it. I didn't know if I'd hate it or whatever. So I tried it one time, and I just instantly fell in love with it. I just enjoyed talking over the game and just having fun with it without even having to play. And so I casted with XOL for about 2 months, not really working on getting better, just kind of having fun with it. But then I was like, okay, let me see if I can kind of take this to the next level. Jumped over to CGL, and with all these overlays and the production quality and stuff, it's just been a blast. And I've seen myself get better. Still, lots of improvement for sure. But I mean, yeah, it was just kind of something I stumbled upon, started to do, and just ended up really liking it. So now I'm trying to do it more often.
So there's two school of thoughts with the casting, right? There's the play by play person who and this is true for even sportscasters, right? But for shoutcasters and esports and stuff like that, there's like the play by play guy, and then there's like the person who comes with the analysis, who intervenes every now and then. For you, I've seen you do a lot of play by play, and to me personally, I feel like that's the more difficult part for anybody who's like trying to cast. How did you learn how to get into it? Because it's sometimes for me as somebody who didn't normally do it before, it seems like a overwhelming thing. Like there's so many things going on. How do you keep up? Like for you, what was it?
Yes. So the big thing when I started with XOL, I was just reading the kill feed. I had a list of adjectives on my side, synonyms for kill and such, and I'd pretty much just be reading the kill feed. But over time, the biggest thing was listening for ultimates. It wasn't exactly looking for them as it was using audio cues from the match to kind of cast it. And having to work the camera with it was kind of difficult because you were kind of sidetracked. But at the same time, if you're doing play by play and working the camera, you can move the camera to what you're trying to talk about and what you're trying to
Mm.
focus on. And so, pretty much, I'm kind of stumbling on words here, but like you can kind of just be in control of your own perspective, so to speak.
Okay.
And I got better at it just from listening to the Overwatch League casters. I watch big fan of Wolf and Monte Cristo Doa, all those good stuff, all those good casters. Not exactly the play by play, but also the analysis. But it's kind of like I just enjoyed watching Overwatch League, and I emulate what they try to do in my own broadcasts. I haven't been successful so far, but I'm trying my best.
Right, right. So okay, so let me ask you this because I think this is the most interesting part of um casting is that like in CGL there's always been this a lot of high tier players including a lot of people who I've been interviewed or have interviewed have always had the same type of criticism where they always feel like some of the casters who aren't the same elo or higher than what they're casting sometimes can't accurately say the type of analysis that they would like. So for example, sometimes they will say something that it might not be accurate or a good analysis, and so it's kind of off-putting for them. As somebody who is both a higher tier player and a caster, what's your opinion on this?
Well, I think they're absolutely right. Sometimes stuff does get missed by the analysts, especially if they're a lower rank, because they can't entirely comprehend what exactly is going on. For the analysis side, play by play is a different story, which I have to worry about. But luckily, I get to cast with Ocean all the time, and I think he, despite being I think mid diamond right now, he's got a phenomenal understanding of the game. He watches Korean contenders, North American contenders, Overwatch League, all that stuff. He studies that, and while he might not be able to execute as well in game, he does understand it at a high level. And so I'm lucky enough to have a co-caster that understands it. But like you're mentioning, the whole situation where they don't quite kind of get the analysis that needs to be done, it's hard to do in a league like this because we're not giving our casters anything. They're doing it voluntarily on their own free time. And so this isn't a focus for them. It's more of just they're going to go cast the game, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so you got a tier one player casting a tier five game. Obviously, they're not gonna know all the little maneuvers or little tricks that are going on. But I mean, it's just good to have the game casted, right? And so in a league like this, you take what you can get. Sadly, it's not always perfect, but you just gotta kind of live with it.
Yeah, and I've had situations before where I've had casters cast some of my games, and like they have they haven't been the most accurate, and it's I can see the frustration coming out of some of the players who have had their games casted, and they're like, oh, like I don't agree with kind of what they said, like blah 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 this and that. But I do agree with you with what you said about how sometimes it doesn't really matter what you are in the game itself. I mean, because there's a lot of people who do have great game sense, but not great mechanics, and are stuck in an elo that not necessarily may represent what they truly are, or sometimes it does, and but they just understand the game, uh, you know, to a certain point, and they just can't execute it correctly, right? So there is
Exactly.
that. But yeah, I do agree with that. So like for people who have often had that criticism, there are just there's more, this is more of a PSA really of just letting people know, hey, listen, there are people out there who definitely know what they're talking about, because I think that's probably one of the biggest criticisms that came out of the broadcasting for the CGL thing was like there's some people that are like that and some people who aren't. But moving on, let's talk about your like weekly top 10 thing, because I saw some of it early on. What was the origin of that, and how has it changed? What is it was it going to be?
Well, really, what it started was I watched the CGO breakdown. It might have been after week four or week five or something like that. I'm not entirely sure when they did it, but I saw the top plays and they mentioned like this is the first time we were even going through the clips. We just threw these together from the attorney top play submissions chat in the Discord, and I was thinking like, why don't they have somebody who's going through that and making a more organized thing? People are popping off every single week doing crazy stuff. They kind of deserve to get recognized. And
Mm-hmm.
so I had a little extra time on my hands. I reached out to Swift. I was like, "Hey, can I do like a top 10 thing with the weekly clips?" He said, "Go for it." And so I just kind of went with it for the rest of the weeks in CGL. And I'm planning on doing a big one for the playoffs.
Nice, nice. So it's elevate. What have you done with the production wise for it to kind of because when I first started seeing it, I was like, oh, this is kind of what they do in the breakdown, but it's kind of like separate now, where it's its own thing. Do you think that are you planning to do some more frequently, or how is this? Does it have like a? Do you put them out at a certain time? How are you promoting these?
That's actually a really good question. I mean, now that the CGL season is done, it's tough to kind of do it consistently at this point. I'll have to find something else to do. But originally, I was throwing them up, I think the Monday after the weekend. It's like halfway through the next week. And then promoting it on Twitter. Luckily, CGL comes in with a fat retweet pretty much every time, which is nice. But yeah, the promotion is mainly through Twitter. They also shouted out on the breakdown. It went on the week 9 one, went on the end of the regular season breakdown. I remember that. So that one I don't think is on YouTube. It's on that breakdown. But for the playoffs, hopefully, I can just get a lot of promotion for it. And was that the full question? I feel like I missed part of it.
No, I mean, I basically it's just more like where do you go from here, right? Because and that was pretty much the core of the question.
Mm.
Do you think because now that the playoffs are gone and you're thinking about you were saying that, oh we'll have to find something else. Do you think you can do that? Because I feel like there's still a void there that can be filled with like plays like that, like and not necessarily in the same breath as like the Warren Weekly stuff, but specific to CGL, there might be like recap moments and stuff like that that can be done. Do you have anything beyond the top 10, or maybe something like a spin-off or something that could be created out of it?
I'll tell you what, nothing has been fully thought out yet, fully created, but I definitely have a lot of ideas. I'm not going to say any year because I don't want to like
Right, right.
not follow through on a promise because I definitely want to do something
Sure.
cool for the off season, similar to a Warren Weekly sort of thing because that was pretty cool.
Right.
Um, super awesome stuff. But I mean, yeah, we'll just have to see how the CGL off season or off tournament goes. Kind of what clips are showing up and how I can incorporate those because I like making compilations of clips for people. It's fun for me, and I think it's fun for people to see it as well. So I'm definitely gonna want to keep doing that.
Nice. Let's go back to your Lucio gameplay because I love talking about this and I think it's a good thing to go back and forth with.
Mhm.
One of the things I find most interesting is the different play styles that people have as Lucio. I know a lot of people were inspired by like what DSP Stanky did at the beginning, especially like you mentioned the Vindication video and the King of Swing and stuff like that. What do you consider your playstyle? Because I know everybody loved those videos to begin with, but not everybody could be like that because
Mhm.
it's a very specific thing, and the higher you get, the harder it is to do. So for you, what do you consider your own playstyle?
Yeah, my playstyle is dependent on the rank at which I'm playing at, not gonna lie. If I'm anything below GM, I am definitely full Reddit. Not gonna lie. And by Reddit, I assume most mans will know what I'm talking about, all in your face, trying to frag the Zen
Yeah.
and the Widow in the back before the fight even starts. Um, but when you get to the higher elos, right, and these players have aim, they'll shut you down instantly. It's more of a calculated aggression. I'm definitely still a very aggressive Lucio, but man, it's just so embarrassing when I get caught out, and so I don't do it as much because it's not necessarily that I'm so not confident, but it's more I don't want to get picked early and screw my team over for the fight, right? And so I'll sit back with my team, wait for the fight to unfold, and then I'll go try to get some kills, maybe make a montage clip out of it.
Sure, and I mean there has to also be like that respect kind of thing where like
Hmm.
there's a method to the madness, right? You become defiant in your Lucio when you like, okay, I'm gonna go after this widow because I don't think she can kill me. But like when you
Exactly.
when you
Yeah.
go above a certain level of elo, you're like, you know what, I this elo has pretty good widows. I'm not gonna try to test all of them. Like I'm gonna test the
Yeah.
waters a little bit, and then because then Reddit Lucio's become that thing where it becomes a high risk, high reward. But if you don't meet that high risk, high reward, then you feed essentially. You're essentially
Exactly.
feeding.
Yeah.
So, what is it? So you mentioned the Reddit Lucioing. So when you do get to that like GM position where you have to play a little more conservatively. Do you find yourself playing a little more conservatively, and how do you do that for yourself? What do you do that doesn't make you like a heel bot, basically?
Yeah, so when I say conservative, it's not like just sitting back and sitting on the heels or whatever. I'll still speed in. I'll boop the Rhine around a lot. I like to stay while riding across the top, make sure there's no widows shooting at me. Obviously, then I'll drop down, boop the Rhine in front of my team most of the time, or whatever the tank is. Bunker's a different story. Ugh. But I'll boop the Rhine out, speed on, and all that stuff. But the big thing when I'm playing at like the 4,000 above, kind of the higher level, is if I get caught twice trying to red it in one side, like through one attack, if I get caught twice, I'm not going to go after it again. But if I've only been caught once, or if I've been caught no times, I'm still probably going to go after it until I learn my lesson. And usually I'll get shut down and then I'll learn.
Nice. Okay, so you just mentioned bunker. I think this is a different. Obviously, this is a different meta than we had before. You know, once Baptiste came out, bunker became a little more prevalent. A few of the things for goats not necessarily died out, but they definitely that you know it got lessened a little bit. People in rank started playing a little more diverse type of compositions, which is a nice thing to say considering it's like all
Yeah.
over the place right now. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
but like, okay, so bunkers become pretty prevalent. I mean, Orisa Roadhog is become
For
like
sure.
a major comp. As a Lucio, how do you deal with this
Hmm.
composition, both in attack and defense?
Most of the time I have to flex. Most I have to swap over to Baptiste or Mercy. But if my team doesn't want to run the bunker, like the direct bunker counter, and I'm playing Lucio, it takes a lot of communication. Because if you're out for like the bunker set up here, right? You probably can't see. Yeah, bunker set up here. If you're
Yeah.
out for a split second too long, you lose the fight before it even started, right? So I have to be in chat every time telling my team, all right, I'm going to speed 3, 2, 1 now. Everything has to be punctual. Everything has to be perfect, or else we're going to lose a guy in the fight and it gets screwed up. So bunkers really made me have to talk a little bit more than I usually would, but I think it's good. I think it's getting me better. And so if we don't have a bunker meta in the future, which I hope it's not too long, um,
Yeah.
if we don't have a bunker meta, then I think I'll be better.
Right. All right, so cool. Let's move on to let's talk about Danny DeVito. Because we just talked to the org leader like last week, and
Yeah.
we mentioned all the stuff that yeah, Burr, and we were mentioning all the stuff there. So you became a streamer for them. How did that relationship start with you and Danny DeVito?
Yeah, so it was kind of just like a coincidence thing, right? So tier three being the biggest tier, I loved casting it. I loved all the Twitter stuff that went back and forth. I wanted to be involved in that community, right? And so I just started casting a bunch of tier three games. And it turned out that I like three of the six or three of the five that I casted happened to be Danny DeVito because their times worked out well with me. And so they hit me up. They're like, hey, we really like your stuff. We like the way you stream. Would you like to partner with us? And like, hold our logo, help our brand and such. And I was like, of course, yeah. And they've been great to me, great compensation as well, good support, just phenomenal resources. It's been fantastic so far. And that's kind of how it started. And I hope it continues going well.
Nice. So here's some of the things that I started thinking about as soon as like the sponsorships and stuff started coming out, because obviously CGL has sponsorships going on, but you know I
Mhm.
always thought that like the way OWL has their team set up, where you know each team started having their own streamers. Who weren't players for the team, but they were just all they did was stream. You know, like
Yeah,
Emong for Philadelphia Fusion, and now DeFran for the Atlanta Reign,
exactly. Yeah.
and those types of people that don't play for the team but they stream. I feel like CGL is kind of moving towards that, and I feel like it's a great thing. But
I
obviously,
love it. Yeah.
me too. I think it's a great opportunity, especially for streamers and for the teams, because there's a point where you know players don't get as noticed because they're just basically playing the game through you know competition, so you only know them by way of the casters and what they say about them. But like there's an opportunity for like those players to play with streamer like content creators and kind of like mesh and have like a whole thing with them. What do you think? Because I think in the OWL they have this you know they have a lot of money behind it, and there's a lot of like incentives for some of these streamers to do this and hit some benchmarks. For you, what do you think streamer sponsorship or partnerships should be like in the CGO, considering that it is like a grassroots movement, right?
Mhm.
What do you think it should entail? What do you think that you should give to the org and the org should kind of give back?
Well, I think what we started with, or what CGL started with, obviously with the sponsorship program, was perfect, right? You got the promotion, chance at some nice cash, chance at some stuff. The trip to TwitchCon, that's just crazy.
Yeah.
And so their promotion for the streamers is phenomenal, and all the streamers have to do in return, rep the brand, just put CGL in the stream, run a couple overlays. That right off the bat is a good trade. And did you want me to go in depth about the future as well, or?
Yeah, I mean, just go like talk about what do you think should be like the quid pro quo, because I think that for us who are growing streamers in the sense that like we're not obviously as big as some of the OWL people, but like we also have like a grassroots movement that we're going through. What do you think that partnership should be like, a practical thing? Because these org aren't really they aren't, they don't have like a lot of money or anything, so there's got to be
Mhm.
some sort of but also what would be the purpose for a streamer to be like, oh, let me affiliate myself with this name? What would be the incentive for them and vice versa?
Yeah, I mean, I think the incentive for a streamer, just CGL on a rise, 100%. And if the streamer's on the rise too, you can lift each other
Right.
up, right? Um, but then like product wise, I really think a cool thing would be this is talking way in the future, right? Streamer sponsorship going for a while. We have a bunch of people. I think some merch stuff would be cool, or specialized emotes too. Or like CGL can provide those services, right? They can hook you up with direct people for free that do emotes for them. Get you set up and situated. Just make streaming easier for the streamer, and also continue to promote CGL, right? And that's kind of where my head is at right now, but I haven't given it too much thought. My main goal right now is to get that sponsorship. So
Right,
that's
right.
where my head is right now.
So you partnered with Danny DeFito, and I think this is a perfect segue to it, because I think that like what you're doing with on Friday, which by the way, if nobody knows this, or there should be people who know this in the chat, but
Yeah,
if
people
you
know.
didn't already know, you're doing a charity event on Friday.
Yes.
And it's you're partnering with Danny DeFito, and I think this is a really good kind of template for how to do this in the future for other people. So if other orgs, they partner with streamers to do this, I think would be a great thing. So I look forward to not only playing and being part of the event, but also seeing how it pans out,
Yeah.
for other future events. So tell me a little bit about the charity itself.
Yeah, so Ronald McDonald House itself. I mean, our owner, I think Burr went into depth about it. And Sally, I'm a little bit on a time crunch, so I won't go crazy with it. We'll talk about it a ton on the stream as well. We'll have some information links. But the
Tell
Ronald
us a
McDonald
little bit
House,
about the what's going to be happening in the event,
what's going to be
like.
happening in the event? Gotcha. Thank you. Yes. It's just going to be a whole bunch of workshop, and if you haven't seen the post, definitely go check it out. We have some huge names playing it. We got Scary. We got Blood Dust. There's here. Let me pull up the whole thing if I can do it really quickly. It's just
Right.
you're going to be there, Dazzle. We got Skate as well. Lame Sauce is going to join us. It's crazy. I can't believe it's blown up like this, but I'm so excited, dude. I'm not gonna lie. I'm a little nervous for sure, because I
Right.
haven't done an event like this before. But like you said, I'm excited to see how it goes too. We're just gonna play about maybe 3-4 hours of workshop, just a whole bunch of fun modes like
Nice.
orb golf, the Pokemon one that you're amazing at,
Oh yeah,
um,
yeah.
tracer tag, a bunch of stuff. Should be good. Like if you've played in the workshop, it'll probably be played on the stream. It's just gonna be a super fun time. It'll be a blast. And
And
yeah, all
what time is that happening?
9 EST on Friday, and it'll probably
9
run for
p.m.
about
Eastern.
4 hours, but I'm not entirely sure yet.
Nice, nice. Well, listen,
Still in the
that
works.
sounds like it's gonna be a lot of fun.
It'll be
Um,
awesome.
that's awesome, dude. Well, listen, I think that's probably it for as the questions that we have and stuff like that. But listen, thank you so much for being on the show. I really appreciate it.
Dude, it was my pleasure. Thank you for having me on. Really
No
appreciate it.
problem, man. And guys, remember, check out the charity event that's gonna be happening this Friday, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Check it out. It's gonna be pretty cool. And guys, tune into your Twitch. Let the people know what your Twitch is, because last time I remember I was like, oh, let me look him up, and it wasn't just Baysk. It was something else. Tell them what it is exactly.
Yeah, Twitch TV / basic PMA, standing for positive mental attitude.
There you go. There
Yeah.
you go. So find
Mainly
them over
'cause
there.
Basic was taken. Yep.
Perfect, dude. Well, there you go. There you have the Twitch and stuff like that. Check him out. Give him a follow if you haven't followed him already. All right. Well, that's it for Off the Wall, guys. I will catch you at some other point. I'll probably be streaming a little later on, maybe in like 30 minutes. I'll probably stream some stuff. And then we'll see you guys probably on Friday over there on Basic Stream. So check that out. All right, guys. Till later. See ya. Bye.